What is up, you guys? Diggerdan here, coming at you with another video. This time doing book review on Jhereg, written by Steven Brust. So without further ado, let's dig into it. So in Jhereg, we follow the main character, Vlad Taltos, who is an Easterling, basically a human. He's an assassin, and at the beginning of the book, he takes his largest assassin contract to date. In the story in this book, basically follows him trying to fulfill that contract and the challenges he meets along the way. And it kind of plays out similar to like a mystery thriller more than an assassin spy book. But it is high fantasy, which is awesome. But I don't know if you noticed, but it's very thin. This book is it's less than 240 pages. And just the amount of world building that Mr. Brust jam-packed in this one book is incredible. I think it's crazy. I don't think there's a single wasted word. His economy of words is very high in getting his story across and getting the dialogue and just all the things that need to be said are said in this book in perfectly. And it makes me really excited to continue on the series. I'll give you my actual overall rating here in a second, but obviously in that 10-second thing, I definitely really like this book and definitely recommend it. I haven't really seen this on shelves. I know it's an older book. This one specifically is written in like 83 or something like that. And I got this book in actually like 10 or 12 of them. I have hiding on one of my shelves back there by my older brother. And I think he got them from my dad. I think my dad read a lot of these when he was younger, like teenager. But yeah, and they're just so short and quick. I think I read this one in like 4 or 5 days maybe. Definitely easily knock it out in a week or a long weekend if you're an avid reader. But I go slow, so yeah. But yeah, it kind of follows that. And like I said, he's an Easterling, which is human. But he's in, I think it's like the Empire. It's been a few months since I read it, so some of the details are a little fuzzy. But basically he lives where like the elves live. I don't think they're actually called elves, but again, fuzzy details. But a cool thing about like the title of the book, Jhereg, is that that's actually named after this creature, like little dragon lizard thing that it's not spoiler because it's literally describes it on the back of the book. He links with Vlad, and his name is Loish. I think I butchered that, but whatever. He's Loish, and he helps Loish helps Vlad on his contracts, and they can like talk telepathically, or I think psionically is technically the word, and that's really cool. Again, world building is kind of fun, and then additionally, I think there's like 15 or 16 great elf houses, and each great house is named after different creature as well. So you have like Jhereg and Yendi and Dragon, and there's a bunch of different like fantasy animals that Mr. Brust invented, which are cool. And those are only a couple I remember. But yeah, so a lot of cool world building things. And like I said, it's kind of, I don't think I mentioned it yet, but it is fast paced, the book. And yeah, so yeah, my overall rating, with that being said, is an 8.45 out of 10, which is pretty good. I definitely recommend it. And without getting into more details, if you don't want spoilers, I'm going to stop there. Thanks for watching. If you don't care for spoilers, let's keep digging into it. So the way I get my rating of 8.45 is I rate 5 different categories, and I take the average of them. So this is rated out of 10, this is rated out of 10, and so on and so forth. So total points of 50. I take the average, so I divide by 5 for a total overall score of 10. So 8.45 out of 10. So the first category I'm going to rate is emotional impact, and I rated emotional impact 8.5. So again, pretty high, but you can assume most of these are going to be pretty high if it's an 8.45 overall. And the reason it's an 8.5 is because, like I said, it was fast-paced, and I wanted to keep reading. I wanted to keep ripping through this book. But when some of the things happened, like when Marlin, or the owner of the Castle Black, when he was assassinated, I was very taken aback. It basically showed that there were no characters that are off limits as far as like death. But that kind of also works in with the magic system too, where it's really cool, where you can kind of resurrect too, because he got resurrected, or Vlad ended up resurrecting him. And then just kind of having like how that whole scenario worked, how like the sorceress that had the block on him being resurrected, and how just Vlad knowing all these things. It was really cool. Like that sequence was cool. And then just also just jumping to the end of the book when Vlad is in hand-to-hand sword fight combat with Millar, who he's contracted to assassinate, and he's like losing, but he's holding his own. But Millar is a master swordsman. He'd have the heron mark if he was in Wheel of Time. For sure he would. But then, and Vlad's losing, and you're like, the guy's gonna die in the first book in his own in his own series. And again, I knew that the series is kind of written out of chronological order, so you can read it in the order that they're released, but that's not necessarily the timeline of the story, which is kind of frustrating, but whatever. That's a different video. So just kind of knowing that in the back of my head, I knew that actually he could have died. But then him using his witchcraft and actually being able to link with a second Jhereg, I think was crazy. And he was even surprised that he didn't even think it was going to work. He was kind of concerned if he linked with the second one, what would Loish think, or would he unlink with Loish? But spoilers, again, he links with her, Razka, I think is her name. And then they end up mating, Razka and Loish, so he's happy anyway. But yeah, just high emotional impact, and just him, Vlad, like interacting with his elf friends, and just how like random elves who see him in the street like treat him. Again, it kind of is wrapped, in my opinion, with world building a lot, but it helped me stay emotionally invested in the story. Like I wanted to keep reading, I wanted to keep learning about the world, I wanted to keep learning about the magic system, I wanted to keep hearing about his different stories, and that's why I'm really excited to rip into the next book. Yeah, so emotional impact, 8.5. Now, next category is characters, and I really loved all the characters in the book. I really liked Vlad. He's awesome. Loish, he might be my favorite side character. Just all his different banter he has with Vlad, I think is funny. And I think Krager, Vlad's like underling, or like almost like first mate you can think about. He's really intelligent, but he's also kind of witty and just very like dry sarcasm, which is fun. And then again, Marlin, the owner of Castle Black, and just his little quirks. And then the other two elf ones that are related to Marlin, I forget their names. One's like very, very old, but they're both very knowledgeable in different magic and like different weapons and items. And just all the characters. And even Millar, I kind of enjoyed. Because he's kind of a dick, kind of a douche, but he's meant to be that way. You know, he's the antagonist, really. And even Vlad's interaction with the demon. Just characters all around. I don't really think there's a badly written character in this book. But then you're probably wondering, why isn't it a 10? I think there's room for growth. I think there is. but because I think I can follow or fall in love more with these characters. And I'm excited to as I continue to read the Vlad Taltos series. But yeah, so 9 for characters. Now for plot, this is the lowest thing I rated. I rated that as a 7.75. Again, not terrible, but still solid. But the reason it's a little lower than everything else is, even though it was very fast-paced, I think because it was so fast-paced, there were some details that were kind of just maybe thrown in there for convenience. I forget exactly now that I'm trying to complain about details, I'm forgetting some of the details. But like when Millar first, from Clan Jhereg, when they kind of bypass Vlad and try to send their secondary assassins to go after Malar, even though he's still under protection of Castle Black. And when the secondary Jhereg assassin actually makes the attempt, but then Vlad stops it, and then he's thinking about all the details after that, and realizing that Malar's 2 bodyguards are not there, and then him making the jump that, oh, then that means Malar wanted to be assassinated, and just kind of putting all those things together. That kind of dropped the plot down a little for me, because I think it just, like, some of those details are a little too convenient, or making that connection is a little too convenient. Again, some of those situations kind of make me, not necessarily make me feel dumb, but it's just like, that's a little too convenient. And sometimes that happens with, like, mysteries and thrillers. But again, overall, it's still a solid plot. I was still happy I read it. And now, next rating is for dialogue and prose. I rated that just a solid 8. Again, very fast-paced book, less than 240 pages, crammed a lot of stuff in there, but it was still easy to read. Like I said, witty banter back and forth from a lot of the characters. Good, solid dialogue. Again, not hard to read. It was just an easy read and fun to do it as well. So, yeah. And now finally, world building. This was again, highest with characters. This is also a solid 9. Because like there's so many good details, like talking about all the different creatures, like the Jhereg and the different houses. Again, like Clan Jhereg or House Dragon or House whatever, and just the magic system. And something I didn't even mention yet is part of the magic system is actually witchcraft, which only Easterners can do, but you have to be trained in it. Which Vlad is, of course, and then he also can sort of use low-level magic because his dad gave money to be part of the Empire, so now he's like psionically linked with the Empire, and he can pull magic that way too. Again, a little different from a lot of the other magic systems I've had. It's like Aragon, for example, very low basic magic. It's like you either can cast spells or you can't. You can either use magic or you can't, right? Even Wheel of Time, you can either use it or you can't. This one's like kind of the same thing, but a little stretched more where, oh, well, you can use magic in low levels, you just have to be part of the Empire. Which is, again, different elements, which I like, different type of flavor, not cookie cutter, high fantasy, high magic type stuff, right? So that I really liked. And also having like Vlad having a familiar, like having Loish on his shoulder and like sitting on the top bench or at the top of the booth, like looking around the bar or the restaurant when he's having a conversation, and then them talking in his head. That's just really fun, really good stuff, I think. So, yeah, like I said, I can't recommend Jhereg enough. If you can get your hands on it. Again, this is an old copy, obviously well loved by both my father, my brother, now myself, and honestly, I might have to read it again now, even just talking about it, even though I read it 6-7 months ago. So, yeah, that's Jhereg. What'd you guys think? Have you guys read it? Did you enjoy it? Did you really not care for it? Have you read more in Vlad Taltos series? How'd you like those? Yeah, what do you guys want to see me review next? Any good things that I'd love to do. So if you guys like this video, please hit like down below. If you guys want to see more from me, Diggerdan, please hit that subscribe button as well as that bell notification icon so you guys know when I upload each and every single time. And yeah, I will catch you fools in the next one. Thanks for watching.